Wednesday night Dynamite.
So Dynamite.
This is awesome. This is this, this is that, this is this. Hey, everybody, have a great time.
I'm not one of these f***ing goof podcasters out there. I am Don Toni. Wednesday night Dynamite. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Last Friday I warned you we were going to get some cinematic bullshit. Look, it's pumping. It's pumping. Fuck out of here. Man, I tell you, if Impact Wrestling would just eliminate some of this god-awful shit. Who shot Johnny Bravo? Who gives a fuck who shot Johnny Bravo? You know, if you really want to make the storyline interesting, how's about who decapitated Johnny Bravo? Since we know there'd be no chance of him ever returning. If you stop stupid shit like this, man, people would take your shit so much more seriously. You think after 2 months with all this stuff with AEW and everything that our ratings are lower than it was in all of 2020's average. Maybe there's a couple little things that you need to tweak. But I got to tell you, I enjoyed Impact Wrestling's episode this week. I thought it was fucking phenomenal. It's about time. It's about time we feel that there's more interaction. And you know what? I have no problem whatsoever of seeing Tony Khan at ringside. It reminds me a little bit of Vince McMahon, 1993. He showed up on Memphis television. He was being a cocksucker heel, pardon my French. But on WWF, no sign of that whatsoever. We did not see Vince McMahon as Mr. McMahon a couple of years later. I'm enjoying it. Do the Nance dance? No. I want to welcome everybody to this episode of Wednesday Night Dynamite. It's January 20th, 2021. Now, I don't need to, usually if you notice when I say the dates, you always see me glance over there for a second because I always got to double check it. I had 3 reasons why I would know today's date. Obviously, the most important, it's technically officially the 1-year anniversary of this channel. Well, the first episode was January 13th, but that was a test run. January 20th was always the official date. No balloons, no party favors, no prizes. Sorry, that's tomorrow. Tomorrow, we give that away. But it's also President Biden officially inaugurated. And I know there's a hell of a lot of you out there that despise President Trump, former President Trump. But in the end, eloquent speech, maybe trying to save his ass from second impeachment and other stuff. Left a note for President Biden. We have no idea what it says. But most importantly, you saw these cocksuckers, QAnon, basically saying online today, all right, everybody, time to go home. All right, we tried. Time to... Oh, my God, did people get suckered? Suckered. No widespread riots. We had a few instances in certain states, but very peaceful. Thank you, because a lot of people were really fearing the worst. Let's give the guy a shot. Let's see what happens. That's how I look at it. That's the end of my politics. Unless tomorrow, Thursday, you tune in live and you want me to elaborate further, Thursdays are your show. Hell, all these shows are your shows. But Thursdays, I sit back like this, and whatever you feel like talking about, I'm your mouthpiece. Now, third reason why January 20th is kind of important to me is because of something that I have been talking about for the last 8 days, something that is very, very emotional for me. I know some of you who are on Patreon had Mish and I talk 70 minutes yesterday about it. I'm not talking more than 60 seconds today. But yesterday, the day came. Yesterday, myself, my mom, and my dad got vaccinated. The first of 2 shots, obviously. The second shot right now is scheduled for February 21st. That is me on the left. That is my mom on the right. My father, I feel so bad. My father took those pictures. I had no idea he did. I wanted to take pictures of them. But I was so nervous in that building because there's a very weird atmosphere going on in this country right now that I just didn't want anybody to say, what are you doing? Recording? What are you doing? What are you doing? So I didn't take a picture. After we left, my mom said to me, she says, your father really wanted a picture. Just, because remember I told you all that 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago when I told my father while they were in Florida that I booked the appointments, he started crying. He had pneumonia not too long ago. My mom gets COVID. It's a death sentence. So yesterday was a very, very big day for me now and my parents. But now here's how it incorporates to today. I have a fever right now. I have a little bit of chills. I have been thirsty like you wouldn't believe. You see these big bottles? I've had 5 of them since last night, not including water, not including coffee, not including soup. So I'm under the weather and I'm really, really exhausted. But the show must go on. I was this close of taking Wednesday off, but I know a lot of you out there would want to hear my thoughts about AEW and NXT tonight. I felt like, hey, if there was ever a night that I could really zoom through this shit and get to sleep and try to, get through a little of these side effects, tonight's the night to do it. So I appreciate it. Look, and I really mean this 1,000%, because I know there's a lot of you out there tuning in who did get COVID, and I know there's a lot of you out there tuning in who had family members, friends, and maybe, friends of friends pass because of COVID. So believe me when I tell you, having headaches, fever, chills, fatigue, tiredness is nothing compared to what you all went through. So I'm not here to bitch and complain. I appreciate everybody's well wishes, but this is supposed to happen. It means your body is doing what it needs to do. I know there's some of you out there that don't believe in vaccinations. I do. And all I know is that when February 21st comes, as long as I don't find a date sooner and we get that second shot in the arm, man, it's going to be a wonderful feeling to know that we're pretty much immune to this. So, and WrestleMania, I didn't do it for WrestleMania. I did it for The Rock. No, I did it for my family and for me. So, but anyway. Yeah, as I opened up, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, I can't complain all that much because a lot of people are fearing if Ethan Page goes to WWE, Lord knows what they could possibly do. You look at MSK, I can't complain right now when you think about it. And we had 3 signings today. Last couple of days. They only announced it today. Now, I'm sorry. Well, actually, I don't have to get into the brackets yet for the Women's Dusty Road Classic yet. But I want to, in case you're not aware of it already, WWE, a lot of people saying that NXT signed them. Well, they are going to be appearing on NXT, but they have WWE contracts. WWE signed 3 new women. One of them, you pretty much know already for a couple of reasons. But I just wanted to show you pictures of all three. Maybe one I should have used a picture of her wearing the hat and the sexy different colored hair. Although tonight I think her hair was kind of orangey. So we're not going to get that blue. But the reason why I chose the photo I did is because when I see her with this look, it reminds me an awful lot of Paige. And you know WWE is looking for someone to fill that Paige look. Not just visual, but the sexiness, the charisma, the attitude. And, I look at this girl and I say to myself, no, look, some people may be like, well, she might be insulted. She doesn't want to be the next Paige. She wants to be the first blah, blah, blah. But here are the three signings. If you want to go check out their bios, by all means. First we have Elayna Black, who now in NXT will be known as Cora Jade. And just so you know, I believe all three participants are going to be in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. I'll get through the brackets a little bit later. There's tons of footage of these three women on YouTube. So get to know them. And this way, when you see them on TV, you already know pretty much what they can do. Another person is Lacey Ryan, who she will now be going by the name Zoe Stark. Extremely impressed in her work. Extremely impressed. There's some great matches online, one against Tessa Blanchard and a few others. So if you want to go check out her work, absolutely do it as well. And then the third one, which many of you know who she is already. Some of you are kind of surprised that WWE picked her up. Now, you would think, I personally don't think a bloody tampon is that big of a deal. If you remember, when I talked about that rant, it was disgusting, but it wasn't really a bloody tampon. It was outrageous, especially for this day and age. But, people do things and whatever, but she is extremely got just a bright future. And that is Priscilla Kelly, the former wife of Darby Allin. And she is now known as Gigi Dol. Now, they didn't say her name on TV. I think some people are saying Gigi. Now, here's the thing, okay? Here's the difference between someone who's Italian and someone who's not, all right? Me, because I'm Italian, I say, give me a half a pound of ham, gabagol. Gabagol. How many of you? Gabagol. Give me a half a pound of gabagol. You'll get someone else that'll say, give me a half a pound of ham capicola. Capicola. Prosciutto. Anybody ever have a little bit of prosciutto with fresh mozzarella and a little dab of olive oil? Prosciutto. Some people say, give me a quarter pound of prosciutto ham. Prosciutto, like they're guilty. So you look at her name, and some people are saying Gigi Dolan. Gigi Dolan. That doesn't sound international, right? Gigi Dolan. She's now known as Gigi Dolan. No, I think, and I might be wrong, I think it's Gigi Dolin. And WWE, if you're going to call her Gigi Dolan, may I suggest you tweak it and call her Gigi Dolin. It sounds international. Gigi Dolin. Especially if she could say it the way I'm envisioning it. Little jit-gel rags for some goofy podcasters out there. Gigi Dolin. Gigi Dolin. So, awesome, man. Awesome. Now, I want to also, because a lot of people will say, oh, look at WWE, and they keep bringing people on, and AEW misses the boat, and this and that. No, AEW does sign some people here and there that WWE misses the boat on. I want them to officially sign Thunder Rosa to a contract, and I think that would probably be the number one example of someone who WWE really missed the boat on, making her a referee. You just picture Thunder Rosa. 1, 2. But tonight on AEW Dynamite, we had Nick Camarado, who you saw in NXT as Nick Ojarelli. Ogerelli. Nick Ogerelli. If you look at him without the facial hair and the wild kind of like, Bruiser Brody-ish hair, as Tony Schiavone said tonight, he actually looks like Phil LaFon. You remember Doug Furness and Phil LaFon? But he's actually pretty talented as well. So, obviously in the year 2021, we're not going to have pro wrestling like the 90s. This person goes to WCW. This person goes to WWF. This person goes to ECW. No, it's not like the huge stars anymore. Even TNA in the early 2000s, you'd have Booker T and Christian and others show up. But nowadays, when you see names being signed, it's more of the, obviously, AAA. And I don't mean that in the Mexican sense, and I don't mean that in the disrespectful minor league sense, but it's a lot of the young stars trying to make a name for themselves. And honestly, that's better, because if someone catches on, it feels like a homegrown star, even though they weren't. So, but we all fantasize. Come on. We all fantasize the huge names jumping ship. I'm sure some of you out there, I know AEW fans would say, DT, wash your mouth out with soap. But I guarantee a lot of you out there would love to see Kenny Omega in WWE and actually be able to go a little bit with some of the wrestlers over there. I'm sure some of you out there would fantasize to see wrestlers in WWE jump to AEW. And I don't mean, the lower card tiers. It's fantasy. You want to see, but I'm telling you, better late than never. But you know what? With the vaccine finally here, 2-3 months is an awful long time to get a shitload of people vaccinated. And if President Biden does what he says he's going to do, and trust me when I tell you, I'm not a Biden fan. I'm not a Trump fan anymore either. But if Biden is smart, Biden is going to try to steal as much thunder from Trump as far as this coronavirus and the vaccine comes. So he has made a vow of 100 doses, 100 vaccinations in 100 days. 100 days is about WrestleMania time. 100 million, that's 1/3 of the country. Now keep in mind, add up, this is very important, everyone, add up the number of people. In fact, big shout out to anybody who wants to do a quick Google search for me that's live. If you add up how many people in the United States have tested positive for COVID, I have not looked at that number in a very long time. If someone could Google it, I would really appreciate it. What is the total positive tests in the United States? My guess is 30 million, maybe. And yes, a lot of people tested positive that was undetected. People who may have been sick early last year and now have antibodies and, obviously never needed to get a COVID. Okay, I was pretty close. Michael Gonzalez, thank you. 24.5 million. Now think about that. Let's say twice as many of those people got COVID and just never took a test. There are a lot of people walking around right now that had COVID and don't even know it to this day. That's still 75 million people. So if you want to say even 100 million Americans had COVID, that means 200 million did not. You vaccinate 100 million Americans and you have another 5 million out there that maybe currently have this, you're going to get rid of this shit so much quicker without having tons of people get this vaccine. So we got to just hope. And that goes for any country out there, any country. So 3 months from now is an awful long time. By the summertime, I truly believe you're going to see wrestling events, not necessarily back at full capacity, but half, at minimum, 50% capacity. And guess what? And this is the greatest thing about it, everybody. And this is not to knock any particular federations. You could insert your jokes, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, whatever you want. But let's be honest here. You could even use WWE. let's be honest here. How many times in 2019, how many times in 2019, before COVID was even a thing, did you watch WWE television? You watched Ring of Honor. You watched Impact Wrestling. You watched all of these feds, and their buildings were only about half full, 60% full. So even if they get back to 50% capacity, that's pretty much what they had before COVID ever started. So when you see people out there say, oh, I can't wait until buildings are back 100% full. 100% full was the Attitude Era. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe when you get towards WrestleMania time and, major pay-per-views. But for the most part with house shows, come on, how many times? You could look up 2019, how many times you look at a house show for WWE. WWE went to Arlington, Texas. Capacity 8,500. Total in attendance 3,930. That would be normal. And thank you, everybody. Because, I try to look at things a little bit further. We don't need to get back to 100% capacity. 50% would look fuller than some feds. Trust me when I tell you, without naming any names, you have some of these feds like, wow, if we get 60% capacity, that's more than we had in our peak. Keep the faith, everybody. Keep the faith. Big shout out to Philip Maffey. He will likely be going to WrestleMania and get good seats. He's curious if they're going to require getting the vaccine. Well, no. From what I understand, they're going to, at minimum, negative COVID test. Maybe the day of, maybe the day before, negative COVID test. But I am very curious. We had a discussion on with Mish last night about this. That I personally, and I know this sounds biased because now I got the first shot, but I think WWE, you have to have fans at ringside. Even if there's plexiglass up, you have to have fans at ringside. And although it sounds fucked up to some of you out there, maybe those who show proof that they are completely vaccinated and are immune to this virus, that they are the ones that get to sit the closest to the ring. And the ones who do not have the vaccine but are providing a negative test, they could sit further back. I personally think that's the way to go. I know it sounds messed up, everybody, but, you got to put all this political correctness aside for a minute, and you got to look at it in a health sense. These vaccines, when they say 95%, look at polio. Look at measles. Look at some of these vaccines you get when you're a child. They're not 100%. So when you have people say to you, oh, you could still get COVID if you are vaccinated. You could still get COVID. I'm sorry, I don't remember myself in kindergarten and having little brat Leroy or little brat Miguel or little brat Antonio, I have to use all nationalities so I don't come across as racist, saying to me, you can still get polio even though you got the vaccine. You could still get measles even though you got the vaccine. I'd take my crayons and shove it right up their asses if that happened to me. You got all these jerk-offs today trying to throw shit on everything because they can't have it or because they are too lazy to go out and get it. They get angry when other people do. But Philip, I truly think that will be going on. And you know what? There will be a lot of uproar if that happens. But that uproar will go away quickly. And they'll take it out on DeSantis instead. So we'll see. By the way, everybody, we'll talk about AEW and NXT in a couple of moments. I just wanted to bring up a couple other things. So yesterday, I obviously went to sleep right after we did our Patreon show. Yesterday, I had very little side effects. Yesterday, I had a little chill, little headache, no big deal. Overnight is where shit started kicking in. Now, it's supposed to only last 2 to 3 days. So I'm pretty okay right now. But, my leg's ice cold right now. But so yesterday, I really wasn't in the wrestling frame of mind late at night and even during the day today. But when I went online and started looking at the Impact stuff, and I see this, Money Matt. And by the way, I'm going to come up with a term now that they haven't. I am now going to call Matt, not Big Money Matt, I'm going to call him Mathematical Matt. You can't spell mathematical without the word Matt. Because if you notice, Matt is now doing Scott Steinerisms. You know, I take 30% of your pay. I take 50% of your pay. I take 100% of my own pay. I'll take 30% more of yours. And now I have 260% of your pay. Stupendous. He is mathematical Matt to me. And I freaking love it. And I'm watching Impact Wrestling today, and I'm seeing them do a little bit. Now Private Party is a heel team, which is interesting because they're going to go up against the Good Brothers. Maybe we get, Chris Sabin and James Storm teaming up as well. There's going to be something going on there as too. But to see them show up on Impact and to see Tony Khan there and scouting the match and everything, this is great. This is great. I even popped for this. And I don't think, you can't do the little picture. When they did the segment on Dynamite today where they went to Kenny Omega's house, that picture was on Kenny Omega's wall. I'm at a loss for words with that one, but I was laughing my ass off when I saw that. Oh, that's so freaking funny. But, to see Don Callis, and, it makes me laugh. I can understand young wrestling fans that don't know much about Don Callis. But when I see older folk like ripping him like a rip-off of this person, rip-off of that one, and I'm saying to myself, motherfucker, where were you in the 90s? Seriously. I mean, did you go revisit your mom's, womb? I mean, do some research before you check your shit out. How'd that old rap go? You got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Why am I looking that way? I don't have rap lyrics on the walls, by the way. No, but seriously, you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. I mean, I see Nick Camarado today on AEW, and people who are doing podcasts that claim to cover NXT had no fucking clue who he is. You had Tyler Rust on TV today, and you had people that do podcasts and do websites have no fucking idea who he is. Tyler Rust. How many times has he been on TV? Then you have Kurt Stallion, who to me, it was funny tonight because all you needed was like a PA announcer, and it would have been like, now batting for Matt Riddle, Kurt Stallion. What is it with the Lucha House Party and blonde-haired, longer-haired, good-looking guys? Matt Riddle, he wants to be a part of the Lucha House Party, and tonight Kurt Stallion shows up. Jay Callis, you fucking crazy, man. Are you serious? Shit, man. Now I'm being the ultimate troll. Yo, man, I thank you for that. How do I repay you? Seriously. Do I fix the contest tomorrow and just send you this? Do I autograph the heart? But no, thank you so much for that, Carlos. And loves the shows, tells keep up the great work. And he thinks NXT was a little bit better than AEW. I got news for you. NXT, their rating last week shocked the shit out of me. I was within 20,000 of AEW's, but NXT, it just blew my mind that it was that bad. Today, the caliber of wrestlers was a little bit better. And I hate saying it like that because you don't want to disrespect anybody, especially when they're on the way up, because no matter who you are, you always start at the bottom. Maybe some people's bottom is not as bottom as others, but you always start somewhere. So you don't want to disrespect people too much. But there are wrestlers, and interesting this week, a lot of the wrestlers we talked about last week that are just giving opportunity after fucking opportunity, after fucking opportunity, after opportunity. And, I feel bad for some because, for example, Jake Atlas, that guy can go. But I think, and I have said it many times, I thought WWE missed the boat by not having him turn on Drake Maverick when Drake was fighting for his career, when he first got released. And unfortunately, without Jake Atlas with an extreme personality, a real connection with fans, when you have LED screens there, and Jake Atlas already doesn't have that connection with fans, the only way you're going to get those LED screens to look active is if you pre-record like Monday. And sometimes the footage is pre-recorded. You ever notice sometimes on NXT you see like an awful lot of Raw shirts on or SmackDown shirts on? I mean, they're not stupid enough to show solo cups, but the only way you're going to get the LEDs to react is if you show pre-recorded footage of them popping for like Matt Riddle or somebody else. And that guy, you look at the numbers, you look at Everrise. I made that joke last week, and it was just an accident. I said, "Will Everrise ever rise?" I honestly didn't think about that before. I don't sit home and, oh, that sounds good. When I thought of Mathematical Matt today, it was just because I was watching him talking math, you know? But these guys are not cutting it. And unfortunately, after a while, it hurts the people you're trying to build. Because as I have brought up, a lot of people change the channel, they don't change it back. How many of you out there, live chat, throw your choices out there, live chat, throw your choices. How many of you out there have guilty pleasure movies? You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And for some of the guys out there, you'll really get triggered when I'm going to say this. And trust me, some of you out there, you'll be like, what the fuck? How many of you out there have guilty pleasure movies, or you have significant others who have guilty pleasure movies that when you're just channel surfing, if that movie is on, whether it's uncut, uncensored, or if it's just regular TV, you stop and you have to watch it. And here's where I trigger a lot of people out there. And look, I'm saying this in a heterosexual sense because I'm a heterosexual. I'm not trying to, but I'm just saying for the example that I have dealt with. How many guys out there have girlfriends, wives, significant others that you're home and they're changing the channel and then they fucking see Dirty Dancing is on? That they crazy glue the remote to the floor so you can't change the channel. Or what's the other one besides Dirty Dancing? There's one other movie out there. There's one other movie out there that oh man, if I wish I could call it right now. She'll throw it out there. People will be like, I hate that movie. It's Dirty Dancing, and there's one other one. I can't think of it. Not Pulp Fiction. If somebody put on Pulp Fiction, I'd hang out and watch it too. But there's like these movies. Pretty Woman. Thank you, Darren. Darren, email me, DonTony@DonTony.com. Any shirt, AEW, NXT, podcast, even podcasts I don't like. You know, just email me. Let me know what size and what you want and your address. Pretty Woman. How many of you out there have had significant others? On TV, Pretty Woman. Oh my God, Pretty Woman. And they've seen it like 950 times. And they'll just sit there and they're doing lyrics. Those two movies. You know, for the right super chat, VJ, I will repeat the Basic Instinct segment. Save your money, seriously. But no, I mean, sometimes you change the channel, and it could be anything. You could watch YouTube videos. You could watch that True TV. You know, World's Dopiest Crooks. I mean, my God, I still binge watch that stuff. You know, with like Frank Stallone and, you know, that redheaded Bonaducci guy and all that shit. World's Dumbest Thieves, 19. World's Sexiest Beachgoers. Yes, Mystery Man. I have nothing against Dirty Dancing or Pretty Woman. But I swear to God, you ever see those goofs on YouTube that they get so angry at a football game, they throw something at their high definition 4K TV that's like $2,000 and they break it? and then they actually post the video like they've done something great. And to this day, we all laugh, and I'm like, oh, you're a dumb motherfucker. They think that they're going to be on some cable show. You know what I think some of these people do when they fuck up like that? I think they expect to get an email or something from some TV show. Hey, we want to use your footage, and in return, we'll buy you a new TV. Those emails never come. Trust me, if I thought those emails would come, I'll take this and just break it over my head. Look, it worked. I turned it on. Wow. But see, I just do whatever. They're so dumb. Oh, and by the way, somebody gave me an idea. You tell me yay or nay. And I don't, no, not the show, thumbs up or thumbs down, but in the chat room, yay or nay. At the end of every episode of Wednesday Night Dynamite, I will always wear my hat back. But at the end of every Wednesday Night Dynamite, when it comes to reviewing AEW or NXT, at the end of the show, should I reveal which show I like better by doing this? Somebody said, DT, you get an NXT hat and you keep it backwards, and at the end of the night, to reveal what show you enjoyed the most. Okay. All right. It's like right in the middle right now. Maybe I do this. How's that? Is that better? You know, I should do the Roddy Piper route. Have half of it NXT and half of it AEW. You know, remember Bad News Brown, Roddy Piper? Remember WrestleMania? All right, a lot of people are saying yay, a lot of people are saying nay. Okay. Maybe I'll swerve everybody and turn the hat around, and it'll be like GCW or something like that. My hair is a little messed up, but it was just an idea. Somebody asked earlier what this shirt is. It is John Morrison. No, it's Snake Plissken, Escape from New York. That's one of the movies. That movie is on regular TV. I got to watch it. Goodfellas, even though I have the third Blu-ray release, that has like an extra subtitle, I'd stop and watch that too. Throw your movies out there again. I got to go back. Some people said Forrest Gump. Some people said Pulp Fiction. Hangover. Hangover's a good one. Uncooked. Debbie Does Dallas. Okay. Ghost. When Harry Met Sally. That's a good one too. Police Academy. Oh, The Naked Gun. Frank Drebin. The Naked Gun. Jesus Christ. I got to stop. Spaceballs. Spaceballs the tampon. Spaceballs the lunchbox. There wasn't Spaceballs tampons, but Screw. Rocky Horror, Dune, 48 Hours, all great ones. Revenge of the Nerds, Beverly Hills Cop, Breakfast Club, Wedding Crashers, Hot Shots, Part 2. I used to be able to do that with Airplane. I don't do that with Airplane anymore. But seriously, and I mean this, you have NXT on, and you got fucking Everrise versus blah, 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 and you change the channel. Oh, look, Police Academy. I guarantee you there's going to be some people that are going to keep the channel changed. They're going to watch YouTube. They're going to get in a sexy mood and go to, Pornhub. There's so many. Uncle Buck's, Saving Private Ryan, The Great Outdoors, Animal House, 0.00. Godfather, yes, Godfather Part 2 for me. Pineapple Express, great. These are great choices, man. But even news, Car Chase, come on. What am I going to watch? The Grizzled Young Veterans versus Everrise? Or am I going to watch a car chase, hoping that the vehicle goes out of control and flips over 900 times? Ted Turner, yes. I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue. What was his name again from Airplane? Oh, Lloyd Bridges. He was fucking great. Rapunzel. Tommy Boy, Uncle Buck, Friday, Trading Places. I think we're repeating some now. But seriously, you got some movies, no matter what happens. I got news for you. If Everrise versus bullshit number 1 and 2 came on, and then you were flicking the channels and somehow saw this, you probably would have been like, hey, maybe I should just hang out and look at it a little bit more. So NXT, I think, did a better job this week. Something that I picked up on a couple of months ago, and with the Dusty Classic as well, is like overload tag team matches. Overload. Over fucking load. Now, we do have singles matches still, obviously. But you look at AEW, and they throw a lot of tag team matches on television. A lot of them are very good. I'm not questioning that. But WWE does that as well. A lot. A lot. And, you know, that hurts feuds sometimes. Case in point, look. Legado del Fantasma. I guess they're feuding with the Lucha House Party. Well, they're going to be facing each other in the Dusty Classic, not to give a spoiler this early. But you look at Santos Escobar. Talk about a guy that it's not his fault, but talk about a guy that was like the head of Lucha Underground, the lead on the poster that some people still don't even know to this day. And this guy's got the Cruiserweight title. And he's got to start throwing insults to Karrion Kross. No, I'm not saying that because Karrion Kross is a friend of the family. La nostra familia. But no, it's like, you mean to tell me you got nobody else in the goddamn Cruiserweight roster? Now, yes, that's why Kurt Stallion came out. Because Kurt Stallion's been the number one contender, I think, since November. You know? I mean, they are, and when you're trying to build up people, and you have people changing the fucking channel and never changing it back, and then you got someone really turning it up, and their quarter hour is just 510,000 viewers, that's not always necessarily the fault of them. You got to see what fucking aired right before them. Because some people are like, hey, you know, I'm gonna go watch baseball for 10, 20 minutes, and then I'll go back later. You know, and then meanwhile, you're missing some great stuff. And I'll say something else too. I commend WWE for trying to elevate some people that they have not used all that much. Now, Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez losing today in the Dusty Classic. For a lot of people, including yours truly, that is a big deal. It is definitely a big deal. And Jay Carlos, again, thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate it. Seriously, thank you. I'll wait a couple of minutes to do some others because, I don't want anybody to feel like they have to follow like a 5-star match. They just you ever feel bad for people on shows like that? Like you have a pay-per-view and somebody has a 5-star match. And then you feel bad for the match that ends up after them because you realize like everybody's been this high and now they got to like come down somewhat. And then that's the time like, whew, I got to go smoke a cigarette. I feel bad for people like that. So I don't want to throw any other super chats right at this very moment because it's, then it'll be like this. After getting his, I'll be talking for 15 minutes and then I'll get somebody else. Well, we'll use somebody that has a great sense of humor. I'll be like this. Oh, thanks, Ken. Oh, man, I'm trying to get myself in a good mood. A little wacky tonight. But Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez losing, there's a bigger picture going on. That's why Io Shirai got involved. Io Shirai, remember when I said 2 weeks ago that I think Io Shirai is going to face 3 or 4 people? I think Io Shirai is going to end up facing Toni Storm, Mercedes Martinez, possibly Raquel Gonzalez, and who knows, maybe even an additional person. So we're probably going to see a 3 or a 4-way with Io Shirai's belt. So even though Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez lost today, there's bigger picture for them. And I have nothing against Kayden Carter and Kacy Catazaro. But when you look, this is WWE's fault entirely. When you look at how WWE has used them, and a lot for Kacy Catazaro more than anybody, and you see how they've used him for 6 months, maybe more, and then all of a sudden you put them together in a Dusty Classic, and you show like 5 promos and vignettes in a week, that we're supposed to all of a sudden be like, oh my God, they're fucking awesome. Now, don't get me wrong. I have no idea what move Kacy Catazaro pulled on Toni Storm to win that match. That was like a reverse. What did Beth Phoenix say? A reverse 450, 180. But I couldn't even do that in my pool. If I had the Sin Cara leap and I was like 10 stories up, that I had so much hang time that I could just like flip around. That was impressive. But shame on WWE for using them the way they did for so long. You can't, like that, turn it around. You know when you can turn it around like that? When you have social media week after week after week saying, what the fuck, WWE? Why aren't you using this person? Why aren't you pushing? Everybody talks about, everybody loves. Why you keep jobbing this person out? When you have that kind of support and then momentum kicks in, now everybody's like, holy shit, WWE's listening to us. It's finally getting recognized, finally getting this, and you get behind it. Social media has not done that for Kayden Carter and Kacy Catazaro. So them winning today, nice, impressive. You got to see what they actually can do. But this is what happens when WWE, misuses people for way too long. It's just not buyable. It's not believable. It's just, and what happens after? After this tournament is over? I mean, what do we got? Now, by the way, Beth Phoenix being there today was nice. And she was there, obviously, to introduce the women's Dusty Rhodes Classic. It was very special. I have no idea if Beth Phoenix has been vaccinated. I don't know, because obviously there's a lot of people that are very, very scared of COVID. Not only do they have young ones in the house, but they also have old people in the house. That's why, not to bring back what happened with me yesterday getting vaccinated, I've said it before. I do not hide that I'm a mama's boy. I do not hide that my relationship with my dad is like this. I am going to enjoy every day that I can spend with them because tomorrow is never guaranteed. I'm not going to be one of those that's going to say, oh, if I only told my mother I loved her one more time. Oh, if I only visited their house one more time. And I certainly would not be able to go for the rest of my life saying that I caught COVID, whether irresponsibly or by happenstance, that I caught COVID and I gave it to my parents and God forbid one of them passed. I'd feel like I murdered my family. I've said it many times before. I would not be able to deal with that. So yesterday, I'm not worried about my health, but I don't want to be in a situation, especially in the business I'm in. I still do grocery stuff. I still do deliveries. I do insurance. I do other things. And I'm around people all the time. And me, I'm careful. I'm absolutely careful. But I don't know where these people have been. I don't know if somebody has COVID and he's like this and he's like, and he flings it, you don't know. I brought it up yesterday. I went to my local supermarket last week to buy avocados. I wanted to make guacamole. I'm not kidding. I went to buy avocados. And when I went into the place, I was looking for avocados that are not too soft, but not too hard. Because if they're too hard, then they're not ripe yet. You can't eat them. If they're too soft, they got that green stuff that looks like an old lady's pants when she shat herself. And after feeling like 8 avocados, I looked in the corner of my eye, and I don't know for sure because I didn't look right at her, but I could swear there was this lady looking at me like, why am I touching all the avocados? And I'm saying to myself after, I'm like, could you imagine if somebody had COVID and, lifted their mask to just cough or sneeze and they touched it? And here I am in the supermarket touching avocados. I don't know who touched it. A goofy podcaster with bad hygiene could have touched it, So that's why when you have Beth Phoenix and others, Mauro Ranallo, people wanting to work from home, there is a legitimate fright about COVID that has to be taken seriously. So it was nice to see Beth Phoenix there today. And it's nice to start seeing that people are trying to get back a little bit of normalcy. But she was there obviously to push the Dusty Rhodes Classic on the women's side. And I thought it was a nice touch. I liked that they had all the women on the stage. We'll see where it goes. So, but as I said earlier, loved a lot of Impact Wrestling this week. I like that Moose is making a challenge to Rich Swann and vice versa. A lot of people want to see Kenny Omega and Rich Swann in April because Impact Wrestling's next pay-per-view, which is Rebellion, is in April. I think that's an awful long time for that to happen. I personally think the Rich Swann boat has already left the pier when it comes to feuding with AEW. Rich Swann in storyline should have showed up at AEW weeks ago. It did not happen. You had Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. They beat Rich Swann, Moose, taking the place of Alex Shelley, who could not compete, and Chris Sabin. You know, it was a decent match, but you do not feel like, none against Rich Swann. I know a lot of people felt this way before the main event, but the way he was used in his storyline, trying to break into, like a truck, like the van, where the caravan, whatever it was that Kenny Omega was in, trying to break into that and not succeeding, and then you don't do nothing else in storyline, you look like a goof. Seriously. So him going to Moose is probably the best thing. Get away from this storyline as much as possible. Seeing Private Party get a nice rub out of this. Now, one thing that's a little weird, next week we have the Dark Order taking on the Young Bucks and Gallows and Anderson. Now, if you followed the storyline today and last week where Don Callis trolled the Young Bucks, and then today the Young Bucks beat up Don Callis a little bit, and now you have the Good Brothers teaming up with the Young Bucks, and Tony Khan, I guess, puts this match together. Is this the Tony Khan heel turn? The Bischoff-like decisions that I talked about 6 weeks ago or so? Maybe. Because common sense, the Good Brothers should turn around and beat the shit out of the Young Bucks. Where does that lead? The Young Bucks versus the Good Brothers? I have no idea. But I like the interaction. We'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. It's only 1 week, everybody. I know that there's been a lot more weeks, but this week really was the first week that I said, okay, seeing Matt Hardy in Private Party, and Private Party being heels and dressed up a little bit and acting cocky, that hit a home run on Impact Wrestling. Hit a home run. Today, when they took on Matt Sydal in Top Flight, it was very good as well because they cheated to win using the chair to the ribs to, I think it was Isaiah Cassidy that did it. When I get into the results, which I'll do in a moment, but I really enjoyed it this week as well. Taya Valkyrie, obviously now she's pretty much out of Impact Wrestling. A lot of people are speculating where she could go. They did the storyline where she shot Johnny Bravo. She didn't want Rosemary to marry him for obvious reasons. But you had a funny thing where Tommy Dreamer's teasing that she may go to Jacksonville Prison, which is AEW. Then they brought up Connecticut, which is WWE. Then they brought up Baltimore, I think, for Ring of Honor. I don't know where Taya Valkyrie goes. I personally think Taya Valkyrie would probably be best fit in either Ring of Honor or AEW. I do not think she would be a fit in WWE or NXT. There are so many people above the food chain. Not that she doesn't deserve it, but especially you're coming in with a herald, decent career. She's 37. I think she's 37. She's had a decent career, and she's very talented. Yes, she's Morrison's wife, but still, she'd be brand new in WWE. Look at how WWE was using Mercedes Martinez. By the way, recommended. Mercedes Martinez did an interview with PW Insider. Decent interview. And she talks about how it was her choice to not remain in Retribution. She wanted to go back to NXT, and WWE gave her that granted her request. Mercedes Martinez has been in the business almost 20 years. She comes in, and for a lot of people, who that? She's badass. Fucking love that woman's work. But you know WWE is not going to suddenly that's missing. They're not going to do that with Taya Valkyrie. So I think AEW would help tremendously because, as I said yesterday, Serena Deeb, it seems like she's the veteran, help training a lot of the women in AEW. Kenny Omega just did an interview you could go check out as well, and he said that they're taking, this all happened in the last couple of days. Kenny Omega did an interview and said that they're taking baby steps with the women's division. And I'm not trying to be controversial here, but I think his answer was perfect. There are people out there, with all due respect, there are people out there that insist that women should get more airtime on AEW simply because they're women. And I think that is shallow as fuck, to say it bluntly. If AEW had more women on TV than men, I would not sit here and say they need more men on TV. You know who belongs on TV? The ones who can do it, that are the most talented, that entertain the most to me. And I don't care if that's Rich Swann or if that's Ronda Rousey. I don't care if it's Becky Lynch or if it's fucking bullshit Ramos. You know what I mean? I don't care who it is. Just entertain me. And Kenny Omega admits they're taking baby steps. You're not going to force the narrative. I mean, come on. You saw Big Swole on AEW Dark. It's getting a lot of press right now. I feel bad for her. She's got talent. Absolutely. But you realize after seeing this repeatedly, and remember that video I put on Twitter, Do the Swalamonte? Remember the Swalamonte? A lot of people probably don't even remember that. It was before I went video. She did a match. I don't know if it was against Diamante. I think it was against Diamante. And they did a sequence that I took old hip house music from 1990 and I put it on there. And you actually saw the back and forth. It looked like they were dancing for a music video. And it just would look so ridiculous. And I had Do the Swalamonte. And I couldn't put it on YouTube because I'll get hit with copyright flags because of the music and because I showed footage. But you realize now that if you force her on TV or Red Velvet or some of these others simply because they're women, you're going to hurt their careers. If they're ready to do it, they will be on TV. You look at Ivelisse. I gave away that hat of Ivelisse 6 months ago. Ivelisse, I thought, man, if you put her, Santana Ortiz and others, a little LAX stuff, or even if you want to do a Diamante too, and she had that match with Thunder Rosa, and no matter how people tried to cover it up, you realized the attitude issues. Then you hear other legends in the business who go out and say, I don't want to name names, you could Google it, and they say she's very hard to deal with. Now, you see, you're not going to force the narrative with some people simply because they're women. If somebody's not ready for prime time, you don't put them on prime time simply because it should be equal. No. Look, when Becky, Ronda, and Charlotte had WrestleMania, their appearances on TV outweighed men. Most people didn't care. They just liked what was going on for the most part. You should never, ever. I mean, you always want to have a female or footprint on TV, but you can't force the narrative. That's why even with Britt Baker, with all due respect, when she said, oh, if you want the women to be on TV, don't change the channel. The ratings will reflect themselves. That reminded me of Dixie Carter telling everyone, look, don't DVR the show. Don't do DVR, whatever she said that time, which was just foolish. You want people to have a big rating because they earned it. And when Britt Baker said, I understand why she said it. I'm not criticizing her. But when you sit back and think about it, I think Britt Baker would be much happier if she realized, wow, we did $800,000 for our match. And that's because fans liked it and wanted to see it. Not because they felt, hey, we're going to help the women's wrestling out. And everybody, make sure when their match is on, you don't change the channel under no circumstances. Even if there was a nuclear accident, you do not change the channel. Even if there's free porn on TV, you do not change the channel. No, you don't do that with anybody. Seriously. So, I got to show you something. You may totally disagree with me. I saw this shirt today. I thought it is, you see with WWE 24s they do on the network, they do documentaries on people. Sometimes you see the person going into a meeting and WWE's, their promo department, merchandise department, they bounce ideas off at the wrestlers. Hey, we're looking at this design. How many times have you seen that with wrestlers? AJ Styles, we're looking at this design. We want to do this. We want your input on this. I honestly, and you might totally disagree with me, but I honestly cannot picture Finn Balor walking into a WWE meeting and them showing him this shirt. And Finn Balor says, yeah, that's me. Yeah, look at that. I mean, that's like something I would have made when I did my wrestling hotline in 1999. All right. I wouldn't mind the big red X on the back of the shirt, just as a symbol. I mean, Undertaker has a symbol. DX had their symbol. Wrestlers have symbols. So I don't mind having the symbol in the back of the shirt. But look at the other part of it. The business watches me. Everyone watches me. Oh man, I'm kind of getting in dangerous waters here. I'm a heterosexual guy, I'll say it. Somebody with gigantic bazoombas should have that as their shirt in the front. I can picture somebody on the beach with no bikini underneath with giant bazoombas walking by and it says, everybody watches me. The business, what is that? Seriously, that is just awful in my opinion. Plus, what's with the fucking crooked fonts? I mean, do you remember on Monday when I said the reasons why people are declared in the Royal Rumble and some people have qualifying matches? Remember when I did this? That's what that shirt looks like. I'm serious. Remember? Well, somebody could declare themselves in the Royal Rumble when WWE wants them in the Royal Rumble. Well, when someone is not intended to be in the Royal Rumble, they have to wrestle a match to be in the Royal Rumble, and they usually lose. And that's why they have to wrestle a qualifying match and other people declare themselves. Now, and you see me looking like this. It looks like, seriously, look at that shirt. It looks like, hey, I got an idea. I'm going to design this Finn Balor shirt, and I'm going to hit two birds with one stone. I'm going to do my podcast, and I'm going to explain why people are in the Royal Rumble. And while I'm doing it, I'm going to draw the lines for the shirt. It looks like somebody that was on a boat. Well, look at that. Why is that like that? It looks like somebody was on a boat. You ever see that scene in Airplane, since you were talking about old movies before? Remember when they're on the plane and the woman's doing lipstick and she's like this? It looks like somebody was like doing the thing and it, oh my God, X marks the spot right here. That shirt sucks. That shirt sucks. Some of you may disagree with me. That shirt sucks. It's not, you know what it is? I just can't picture somebody working for $1 billion fucking company, making designs for hundreds of wrestlers, and then saying for the number one wrestler in NXT, I could see that if that's for bullshit, blah, blah, blah-zo. I could see if it's somebody lower in the food chain that when you see them, you want to fart. But the number one person in NXT, yo, Champ, come here for a minute. Champ, we work on a new design for your shirt. I think we fucking nailed it. We'll put this giant red X in front of you, and then in the back, we'll make it look like somebody was like on a roller coaster or somebody was on a rowboat or something with high tide, you know? And look at that. Everybody watches me. Oh, my goodness. Michael, the only reason why I said fart just now is because I felt one coming. I didn't. I hold it in. After the show is over, I invade the bathroom. So, but anyway, so look, I know most of you watch both shows already. So I want to give you beforehand the current brackets for the Dusty Rhodes Classic on the women's side and on the men's side. Now, I've already updated them with the wins tonight. So at least you have an idea of what we're looking at. So here's the women's side. On the left, you have Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. Hopefully they pronounce it Gigi Dolin and Cora Jade. Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. And Marina Shafir and Zoe Stark. On the right, you have Kacy Catazaro and Kayden Carter who advanced today. Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm who lost to them. Then you have Aaliyah and Jessie Camilla, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. So now, when you look at it like this, it almost feels like Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez have to advance because, no offense, but on that right side, I don't think it is a ratings draw to have Kacy Catazaro and Kayden Carter versus Aaliyah and Jessie Camilla. If you advertise after next week, Kacy Catazaro and Kayden Carter versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, that looks like big underdog, and fans may get behind that. So that to me is a good match to have. So I think we will have Kai and Gonzalez advance. I'm not sold on Gonzalez winning, her and Dakota Kai winning this. So you very well could end up having Kacy Catazaro and Kayden Carter go to the finals, especially if Io Shirai gets involved again on their match, because Io Shirai has unfinished business with Raquel Gonzalez. Maybe Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez go their separate ways, which I believe is going to happen in the next month or so. Could happen sooner. Now, on the left side, I don't know if they're going to push Gigi Dolin and Cora Jade that quickly. And honestly, if you looked at, Priscilla Kelly today and Gigi, a.k.a. Gigi Dolin, if you look at her today, she had mannerisms like she was acting like she was a heel. If you go and you look, when they announced Kayden Carter and Kacy Catazaro, she had this look on her face like, oh, they smell. Like she had this bitter look on her face. And it's not, she looked like she was being a heel. So it'd be very interesting to see them taking on Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, who also are heels. So I think we'll have Candice LeRae. Put it this way, especially how they're using the way right now, I think Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell could very well win this whole thing. They may end up taking on Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon in the semifinals because I do not see Marina Shafir and Zoe Stark going further in this. But that is your brackets. Now, if you look at the men's side over here, here's the men's side. Yeah, Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. They will be facing the winners of Ashante Adonis and Desmond Troy. Now, after Karrion Kross's match with Ashante Adonis today, I don't even know if that team is going to continue. I'd love to see WWE throw a swerve and put another team in there to take on Tony Nese and Daivari. And this match will go on, I think, at 205 Live. So I think Adam Cole and Roderick Strong will be taking on the winners of Kushida and Leon Ruff and the Grizzled Young Veterans. You almost feel like they want Kushida to feud with Johnny Gargano, especially after what we saw tonight. So I technically don't think Kushida and Leon Ruff would go to the finals. So we may end up seeing the Grizzled Young Veterans versus Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. On the right side, they did that vignette today with MSK, and I'm telling you, I am really, really enjoying the way WWE introduced us to the Rascals. they wore sweatshirts today that said misunderstood on there. Now, I don't know if they've explained yet what MSK stands for, but now I'm starting to think if maybe the M stands for misunderstood, but I love the idea of MSK advancing. Nothing against Killian Dane and Drake Maverick, but WWE totally, that team, they had so much potential, and sure, WWE could repair it, but it just feels like, blah. WWE just let it go too long. It's like they took like a steak out of the refrigerator to defrost, and then they forgot that the steak was on the counter, and they left the steak out for 2 days. Now you're trying to cook the steak, and it's like, I really don't think I want steak right now. That's how I feel about Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Comedy, don't get me wrong, but I'm not feeling it. Lucha House Party, Legado del Fantasma, they have built that up with a nice storyline. So I'm actually really looking forward to it. And man, I tell you, that match today with Imperium and Lucha House Party, even though, I'm not really that much into Imperium, Lucha House Party is now showing us what those son of a bitches should have been doing on regular WWE television for a couple of years now. They had moments here and there, but WWE fans never took them very seriously because of the characters they were given. It was such a solid match, and hey, Imperium, there might be some trouble going on because of someone making their return today, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But by the way, what did you think of that? What do you think the future of Imperium is? You think it's going to split? You think Walter maybe, because Walter comes off like the godfather of the whole crew. Is Walter going to have to come down and take care of business? But I think we may end up getting MSK versus the Lucha House Party. Or I wouldn't mind MSK versus Legado del Fantasma, but I honestly think Lucha House Party has been doing pretty damn good. I liked them in NXT 1,000 times more than I ever liked them on WWE programming. So give me MSK versus Lucha House Party in the semifinals. And then maybe you have MSK. Don't be surprised you end up with something like MSK versus Grizzled Young Veterans. I don't know. But, the brackets are not that strong. But I tell you, man, MSK, I think, has an excellent chance of winning it all. And it just feels right. There's something about their presence in 1 week. Yes, their rating last week was not great. None of NXT's quarter hours last week were great, I think, except for one. MSK, I would love to see them win. I don't want to see MSK versus Undisputed Era Psycho. It's too one-sided for me. Plus, the Undisputed Era. Let me make this point too. The Undisputed Era right now are pretty much baby faces. And my God, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Two things that I have said I've wanted over the last month. One was a match between Finn Balor and Pete Dunne for the title, which we will be getting very soon. And another thing I wanted Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly to team up. I've said that a few times already. And we're getting it next week. I'm telling you, WWE this week. I'm not sold yet on rings. I think, let's be honest, especially after last week's ass whipping that AEW gave NXT in the ratings. This week's NXT didn't have so much magic that it's going to overcome a couple of 100,000 viewer gap. AEW's definitely winning the ratings this week. But next week, I think the numbers are definitely going to narrow because they are now focusing on players and a couple of underdogs, but it's underdogs people are getting behind, like MSK. So those are your brackets. We already discussed the Balor shirt. We've already discussed this. We don't need to show that again. Let's talk a little bit more about both shows. So, another thing. Busted Open Radio. did a wonderful interview with Wardlow. Go out and check it out. If you like Wardlow even this much, go check it out. You know, they interviewed him. He was in his car, but he was talking about the opportunity at AEW. When he first came in, I talked about some of his wrestling, you know, in-ring work. He is impressive. And he's been pretty much MJF's bodyguard, if you want to call him that. But that guy, you really come off liking the guy even more. And as far as AEW tonight, had a feel-good opening, obviously. The main event, and you know, if you follow my shows every week, especially Fridays, you know I've pointed out how bad the Inner Circle ratings have become. Using the phrase demo god last week was weird because the week before we pointed out how they have not used that term in ages because the quarter hours for Inner Circle keep going down and down and down and down and down and down. I think the Fight Pit match today, I don't believe it's going to beat AEW in that quarter hour, but it's going to come damn close because WWE made the right decision. I didn't think so the day of New Year's Evil. But WWE made a right decision to cancel that match for New Year's Evil, playing that storyline that Thatcher was injured, which he wasn't. They felt that match would be better suited as an NXT main event all by itself. Tonight it delivered. And Thatcher came out on top, which is something he needed. Now I want to see mutual respect between Thatcher and Ciampa. I think they would be a fucking phenomenal tag team. Too bad this Fight Pit match didn't happen a couple of weeks ago because I would have really enjoyed Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher as a tag team in the Dusty Rhodes Classic. Hell, I would have loved to have seen Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly as a tag team in the Dusty Classic. Hell, I would have popped even more if Kyle O'Reilly and Finn Balor were on this bracket and the Undisputed Era were on this bracket, and then at the very end you get Roderick Strong and Adam Cole versus Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly. I mean, come on. It's not that hard. What happened to James? What happened to James? James, who passed? Who passed? Family member. Oh, his good friend, Miriam Sandoval, huge wrestling fan from Brooklyn, New York. Wow, man, I'm sorry, James. Seriously, my condolences. You know, I mean, we don't ever want to hear anybody passing, and you know, we see quite often on the wall people talking about it, but you know, especially wrestling fan, you know, my condolences, seriously. Hopefully it's not something, you know, that she endured for a while, because maybe just to try to lighten the mood a little bit. Somebody had asked me the other day, because they knew I was getting the vaccine, they said, you know, if it was your time to go, how would you want to go? I said, honestly, I hope I go in my sleep. Seriously. But if I can't go in my sleep, I don't want it to be lame. Like, I don't want to get, like, killed by Antifa or, like, shot or stabbed. Like, I want to go off a cliff. You know, like, I want to go, like, in a blaze of glory, like killing terrorists. Like, I don't want to get mauled by a lion or, you know, like, I want to go out in style, but I want it to be like this. You know, my big fear is the C word. I had that fear 2.5 years ago about, and some of you saw those doctors' results. When doctors are using cancer words, and you get this, and it rattles your brain, man. It fucking rattles you. So, you know, there's a few people talking about she was a big-time wrestling fan, so, you know, we don't ever want to hear that, but, you know, my condolences, seriously. So, let's talk about tonight. Let's get into NXT first, because AEW, that main event was sloppy. That main event, to me, makes no sense. The whole Inner Circle storyline since MJF joined has been a mess. Yes, we see the subtle underlines. We've talked for the last 2 months. I made that prediction 2 months ago that this year, Sammy Guevara will be kicked out of the inner circle, get his ass kicked, will turn babyface. He will get, remember I said the Randy Orton evolution treatment? That will happen. But you could also see the storyline where MJF slowly wants to get control of everybody. And you saw little seeds when he went up to Ortiz or went up to Santana. Santana had, I think his father-in-law had passed, and I think his father had also passed not too long ago. He had 2 family members pass. And they had it was a nice segment, but it was weird for television. Just to show MJF go to Santana and say, listen, I know what you're going through, and I'm here for you. And there was no hug and MJF on the camera like this. It was just a really odd segment out of nowhere. So it's the inner circle. It just feels like a group of people that have just decided, you know what, let's just have fun with each other. Because for the last 2 months, everything is, it almost feels like a little bit of, it's not NWO. Some people compare to NWO. NWO, the storyline, they were trying to take down WCW. They were beating the fuck out of everybody else. Here, 1 week they're partying. A week later, we might break up. Another week they're partying. Another week we might break up. A week we're doing this New Year's resolution. A week we cannot fight each other. We got to stop that. A week later they have a match. A week later we're together again. A week later we have a 3-way tag match. A week later we're together again. It's a fucking mess. It's a mess. So, anyway, that's why I kind of enjoyed NXT a little bit more today. Had its moments, AEW, but overall, a lot of it is a mess. I mean, the Good Brothers, as I said before, teaming up with the Young Bucks after being trolled by Don Callis and the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. Kenny, remember the storyline today? Kenny Omega changed his phone number. Didn't give it to the Young Bucks. Then for some reason, they're just beating up Penta. They're just beating up Penta. I love that the Good Brothers kept their belts on, their Impact belts, as they were beating the crap out of Penta. Kenny Omega hitting him in the eye with a boot. But then in 2 weeks, we're going to have Jon Moxley, Pac, and Rey Fenix versus Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. Why? Why? Pac, yes, I know. Pac, feels like he should have a title shot. They want to get him in the title picture. What they've done with Moxley has been a joke. I understand his wife is pregnant and he wanted to stay home with family the last 2 months. Totally deserved it. Moxley busted his ass in 2019 and 2020, got a little bit of a break. No complaints at all. Today was his first match back in almost 2 months. A lot of it just feels thrown together for obviously buzz, but the storylines, the weird thing about it is my favorite 2 storylines right now is Mathematical Matt with Private Party and some of the stuff they're doing with Impact Wrestling. The Good Brothers and Don Callis, for me, are like the highlights of a lot of stuff going on right now. So, you know what? Since we're talking about AEW, let's talk about that one first because we really could get into this super, super fast. The opening match, which was obviously a feel-good moment, Brody Lee's son, his birthday was a couple of days ago. So they did a match, as to honor his birthday. It was the Dark Order of John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and Colt Cabana teaming up with Hangman Page. They beat the Hybrid 2 and the Chaos Project, Serpentico and Luther. Before the match, Luther gets on the mic and, he's making fun of Brody Lee's son, -1. And, there's a birthday cake. You have, I think it was John Silver that was trying to get everybody to sing happy birthday. I understand some wrestling fans online that are like, look, we know that the kid lost his father. We all lost somebody special in wrestling. But, they keep doing it on TV. So I understand why people say that. But I disagree with people out there that had a problem with this tonight. Because the kid's birthday, he just lost his father. Tragically. Just went through Christmas without a father. Brody Lee was a very special member of the AEW family and the Dark Order. And that promotion, is, although on nationwide TV and huge contract, it's still a very small, tight-knit family. They don't have hundreds and hundreds of employees. So to have a little bit of a feel-good moment, I have no problem with it. Because I guarantee you, and I know 99% of you out there tuning in will agree with me when I say this, you have a local indie fed that you absolutely love. If they did that as an opening today, and one of your favorites locally had passed, and they did a little birthday thing with his son, who is a tremendous wrestling fan, and you would have had no problem with it. None whatsoever. And I know what some people are going to say, well, this is not a local indie fed. It's not the point. It's not the point. It was a fun match. Once again, the good guys win for the kid. We see Luther go face first into the birthday cake. A little bit of comedy. And a lot of love in the chat room right now. A lot of love in the chat room. I'm telling you, I said this, it's a slippery slope, because we have a Patreon family and we have a YouTube family here. And I try to keep them separate, because I don't want one to feel like they're losing out and vice versa and everything. But when I started this channel 1 year ago, my biggest fear were trolls, because that was the thing people were telling me more than anything else. My God, you're going to have so many trolls. And I could honestly say that I am pleasantly surprised at how everybody gets along over here. It's not cake and ice cream all the time. A lot of people disagree with each other on a lot of things, but I love the family feel over here. And that is probably one of the most favorite things that I have over here. Obviously we don't hang out. Maybe I'll see some of you at WrestleMania. When we do the New York thing again, maybe you guys, some of you will come down. But, one thing is for certain, when I see like Jay Carlos or Ken Turner by DQ or now Papa Jr. and Darren and others, like, I know a lot of you guys as soon as I hear your name. And it's great to see so many people. And now, since you all comment in the comment section, I love bouncing back and forth with some of you guys and gals. So it's great, man. It's great. Seriously. Very, very odd to have that come together this quickly. That's why I'm really excited to see what 2021 has here. I tell you, not to try to be a dick to haters out there, but we're 20 days into January. And I think from New Year's Eve, reigning in the new year with all of you with fireworks and champagne, and even my significant other came in to say hi. And I think of debuting a new show on Thursday. I think about all the stuff we did, even outside me personally. And then, the vaccine. I look at the first 20 days and I'm saying to myself, my God, I think I did more in the first 20 days that I would have done in 3 months. And then I look at other people and all they spent their first 20 days doing is just sitting on Twitter. Twitter and YouTube. That's all they have done for 20 days. People making New Year's resolutions, people making promises, they're going to do this, do that, do this. They let 3 weeks go by and have done nothing. I don't ever want to. The day I start doing that here, just let me know and I'll shut it down. So we get the Dark Order, get the win. Now, they teased for the last few weeks if Adam Hangman Page was going to join the Dark Order. If you have not paid attention to AEW, and you had it on your TV today, and you had the TV muted, you would have thought John Silver made a wedding proposal to Adam Page. Because John Silver is on his knees and asked him to be in the Dark Order. Adam Page said no. John Silver in storyline thought he was going to say yes. And they have in big giant letters on the screen, he said yes. They had like shirtless cowboys come out. I guess they were all supposed to go to the ring and I don't know what they were going to do. And you would have thought there was a marriage proposal. But, you know, Hangman Page says no. The Dark Order looks baffled that he said no. And he ends up grabbing, I think, a bottle of scotch from one of the members of Dark Order, and he goes to the back. Thank you, Benjamin. Benjamin's been tuning in since 2007. 13 years, man. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Never thought we would last this long, man. Seriously. It's great. It's great. Southern Love. Tune in. First time, couple of weeks ago. So we got, in some cases, lifers with me, and then we have people here brand new. It's awesome, man. I love it. After all of these years, when you have people, first time, you know, just tuning in, it's pretty awesome, man. And I'm glad that you stick around. That's the most important thing. I obviously don't expect every single one of you to tune into every single minute of every single show that's gone on here. But, every show has a different theme, and that was another thing I wanted to do. So I still think there's a chance of Hangman Page joining the Dark Order. It's keeping his name in a storyline because what has transpired with the Elite, him, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, there's a lot of holes in that. That guy was like a wounded animal watching Kenny Omega insist that he goes singles run. Remember that? And that went nowhere. It went nowhere. I know Hangman Page in his promo today tried to say, hey, I went with a group before and it didn't work out well. And so something else is going to be going on. So, funny segment. I laughed. I wrote it down because I thought it was funny. Alex Marvez interviews MJF and Jericho about the match tonight, and MJF says that Alex Marvez's breath smells like rats having an orgy in a running microwave. I close my eyes and I try to picture that. I just picture two rats going like this and then just exploding because they're in a microwave. Sting congratulates Darby Allin. Cinematic street fight, anybody? I don't know if it'll be a boneyard brawl, but you see where this is going. Elizabeth Lewis does not mind the segments with -1, -1. I like to say -1. Negative, I don't like negative. Have him talk to Hangman. Do the thing with MJF was to destroy the inner circle. It's just, they should just focus on one storyline. They're trying to make a lot of little sub-storylines, and it's turning into a mess. Some of the greatest soap operas, some of the greatest eras of wrestling is when you could look back and you could identify 3, 4, maybe 5 nice storylines going on at the same time. But those 5 storylines would be 5 different groups of wrestlers, not one faction and having 5 different storylines within it. It's a little bit rough. Wardlow and Hager don't get along. MJF and Guevara don't get along. Guevara wants a team with Jericho, but Jericho's team with MJF, and MJF has got ulterior motives, and it's a little bit much. Plus, to see Sammy and Jericho who did they double team today? I think they went up against, I think it was Ortiz. And I'm saying to myself, why is Jericho and Sammy like both working together during this match? It just did. And by the way, you saw the Lion Salt, Matt Hardy with a moonsault. I don't know why some people, when they get to a certain age, maybe they have to convince themselves they still got it. And by doing certain moves, that's their way of saying, I still got it. No, Matt Hardy still has it. And Jericho still has it. Maybe not on a level of 10 years ago or longer, however you want to call it, 5 years ago. But they still got it enough. And they don't need to put themselves in situations where they could get seriously injured. So now, long story short, with Sting, he comes out to congratulate Darby Allin, immediately interrupted by Team Taz. Taz starts talking about the streets and where he came from, and if Darby Allin and Sting want to be street fighters, why? Because Sting used a fucking plastic bat? I'm sorry. I know Taz is from New York, and I'm from Queens, New York, and I've seen a lot of shit go down in Brooklyn and Queens, and, over the years, I've seen race riots, I've seen tragedies, I've gotten jumped, I've seen other people jump people. I don't recall anybody in the streets ever using a plastic fucking baseball bat. Maybe if we were playing wiffle ball in the park and somebody, fucked up, you want to hit them with the wiffle ball bat. But I don't walk down the street. Yeah, I'm going to hit him with the fucking wiffle ball bat. It's goofy, man. I know we have suspension of disbelief, but when you have interviews being done for years and years and years, laughing at the plastic bat. I don't care if Undertaker's doing it. I don't care if it's my favorite wrestler of all time, Terry Funk, doing it. I don't care if it's Sting doing it. I don't care who's doing it. But if you mock the bat for 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, and then you come out with said weapon, that's why Triple H has to light it on fire now. That's why Triple H has to put barbed wire around it now, because there's been so many jokes about the sledgehammer that, okay, we have to up it a notch. Sting doesn't take the plastic bat and wrap it around with glass or barbed wire or anything like that. It's just the plastic bat. And then Ricky Starks, that's not streets. But hey, if that's them, then again, some of those people in the ring, their idea of living on the streets is sleeping in their car before a wrestling event. That's not what being on the streets in New York is. Taz probably has a better understanding of it, but the storyline is a little out there because that's not the streets. Santana and Ortiz know about the streets. Hitting someone with a plastic bat wearing $500 shoes is not people wanting to be in the streets, but it looks like we're going to have a street fight. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. If that's their way of getting Sting in this and it's pre-recorded, it'll be done safe. He will not get hurt. And honestly, one thing you got to give credit for, WWE and AEW, when they've done a lot of the cinematic stuff, with the exception of the dentist shit with Britt Baker and Big Swole, a lot of this pre-recorded stuff, with the exception of Ethan Page and Karate Man, a lot of it's been great. So I cannot knock it because a lot of these cinematic fights have been very good. So segment Kenny Omega's house, as I said before, Young Bucks looking for Kenny Omega. Michael Nakazawa is acting like his secretary. Alex Marvez, he comes in there with a camera. Nakazawa escorts him into a different room. They leave the camera there, and you see, Don Callis trying to bribe the Young Bucks to leave Kenny alone. They're insulted by the amount of money. They end up roughing up Don Callis a little bit. Later on, you have Kenny Omega. Looks like they're in a locker room with Don Callis, and he's trying to hide that he's got a little bit of a shiner. And obviously, this sets up, more dissension down the line. Yeah, Benjamin has seen more street stuff with the Usos. Yeah. It just feels kind of forced, Cody, can't call him the library anymore. Librarian, say that fast. Librarian Peter Allen. Did I say Peter fucking Allen? I never liked Peter Allen in my life. He kind of looks like Peter Allen. Tap dance. Then I dropped my freaking glasses. Peter Allen. Now he's Pretty Peter Avalon. If you're on my Twitter, you saw it already. If you were on the show last Friday, you saw it too. Last week, I was talking about how AEW does a good job by not putting dark wrestlers on Dynamite when they're still better suited for dark. And I used Peter Avalon as an example. literally 3 hours after our show was over last Wednesday, they announced Cody versus Peter Avalon. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. After we did that rant last week, this match was awful. I don't call him the librarian, Peter Avalon. I don't call him pretty, Peter Avalon. After what I saw today, I call him pathetic, Peter Avalon. I've said since day one he looks like an anorexic, ravishing Rick Rude. Now they're trying to use the pretty stuff. I mean, the beginning of the match was fine, where he low blows Cody. Cody thinks he could beat him in a minute. Yeah, Jade Cargill come out to distract Cody. And by the way, Shaq is supposed to respond to Cody next week. Why it took 5 weeks, I have no idea. But, okay, Shaq's going to respond to Cody next week. Pre-recorded segment, obviously. It's going to look weird. He might be wearing the same shirt from that day. I don't know. But they're keeping the Jade Cargill Cody part of it alive still. She comes up the rampway. Cody's distracted, gets hit in the nuts. And then we get 7 minutes of pain. Pain. Mr. T said in Rocky 3. What's your prediction? Pain. I mean, the finish of the match, I could see if Peter Avalon put on the performance of his life, and I would say, you know what? Guy ain't half fucking bad. But when you see him against somebody like Cody, you could see why some people are better suited for the indies. Even the way he was throwing his punches and some of his shots, I think someone with no arms could probably do a better job. But the finish in the match, Cody puts him in the figure 4. Well, Peter Avalon put it on Cody. Cody's got it on him. Cody tries, or comes off, he's about to slap Peter Avalon in the face. Because Peter Avalon is pretty, Peter Avalon, and he doesn't want his face to be touched. Because Cody almost slapped him in the face, Peter Avalon tapped out. I don't know who thought that was a great idea, but it was awful. Another one is FTR's talking about how they're a great tag team, the number 1 tag team, and then they're interrupted. They're having a drink. They're interrupted by Jurassic Express. And then Jungle Boy is like, oh, one thing I learned last week is that I could beat either one of you. So I'm like, okay, here's the impromptu singles match. And he might get the abrupt win. So we set up the match next week. It is what it is. I just feel ever since FTR has lost those tag titles, maybe because they're still getting the paycheck they got before. If you were FTR, you'd probably be saying right now, hey, I'm getting a decent paycheck. We're not having to do all that much. Giving a little rub to some young guys. But at the same time, ever since they lost the tag titles to the Young Bucks, it feels they're not even in the top 10 right now because of the way to utilize. Because remember, if you're going to go to Sports Illustrated or Pro Wrestling Illustrated or any other website and say they were the number 1 tag team of the year, they base it on matches, feuds, ability, win-loss, this and that. You look at their last 3 or 4 months and you look at their resume, they're not even in the top 10. They are the number 1 tag team to me, but they better be amping it up a little bit as far as the caliber of their opponents. Because if you go 3 months and all the shit for the most part is Jurassic Express and dark opponents, that's not going to look awfully good. Eddie Kingston, interviewed by Dasha Fuentes, Butcher and Blade, gets interrupted by Lance Archer and Jake Roberts, and it looks like we're going to see Lance Archer versus Eddie Kingston, which I'm fine with. No complaints there. Matt Hardy and Private Party defeating Matt Sydal and Top Flight. The news about this, and it was kind of, uneventful because you have Private Party. This is the problem with the Impact stuff. This is the only problem with heels, which is a little weird. But still, Nice rub for Private Party. No complaints. Loved their work on Impact. No complaints at all. So you think AEW would make them lose on TV 24 hours later? So it kind of took away from, suspension of disbelief. But you had Isaiah Cassidy in the end pick up a chair, hit Dante Martin in the ribs, and his tag partner looks a little bit like taken by surprise seeing him using the chair to the ribs. Then Mark Quinn's got a big smile on his face, hits his finisher. They win. Matt Hardy, they're clicking. I like Big Money Matt. It's humorous. I know you could feel the storyline changing. Originally, you thought, and I thought, that Matt Hardy was going to take advantage of Private Party, and Private Party were going to get it fed up and say no more. And then when they're ready to spread their wings, and they don't need Matt Hardy as a mentor, they could go one way, Matt Hardy goes the other. Now, you could feel the storyline that Private Party is actually digging this, and I love it. To me, the last 48 hours, 24 hours, Private Party has leapfrogged the Acclaimed. As far as a young heel tag team, excellent. Excellent. I don't know if Top Flight is ready to be that very young rookie babyface tag team that stands out above everyone else. Thank you, Ted Turner, in the chat. Not the real Ted Turner, but thank you. So, Penelope Ford over Layla Hirsch. You have Chuck Taylor is now Charles Taylor. He's got the towel like the butler. A little goofy. Orange Cassidy sitting at ringside. Penelope Ford wins with her feet on the ropes. I like Layla Hirsch, but to me, she's turning into damaged goods quickly. She's got a disadvantage because of her height already. I see all the insults online. I feel bad. I look at that formula thing. I'm like, some of these people out there, I could understand. I could understand if you look like $1 million, whether you're male or female, and you want to be a little bit of a bully or you just want to be conceited and you make fun of other people. But when people do it and they have no photos online, and the only photos is before they even have pubic hair, it's like, you're making fun of all these other people and you don't even have the balls to show your own face. And some of these people, oh man, it's just, I don't think they realize how ridiculous they come across. But I thought it was so stupid. After the match is over, Miro pushing around Charles Taylor, and he tells Chuck Taylor to tell Orange Cassidy that Miro is now his best friend. Because, the team best friends. And Chuck Taylor is forced to say, Miro's my best friend. No problem with Miro's involvement. I had no problem with Chuck Taylor's. But to see Orange Cassidy with puppy eyes, feeling like he's been betrayed and brokenhearted and turns around and walks away, I'm like, that's fucking awful. That's Orange Cassidy. It doesn't, and you're playing him off like he's a broken-hearted puppy dog that his master just gave him up for adoption. Horrible. Charles Taylor. Yes, Charles Taylor. Charlie Taylor. Then we got that segment, like I said, the Good Brothers. Loved that they kept the Impact tag titles on. They beat the shit out of Penta. Kenny Omega joined, and they leave him laying. So the main event tonight with the Inner Circle, which we talked about a lot already. During that match, they announced that Tony Khan announced that 2 weeks from now at Beach Blast, it's going to be the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega versus Pac, Ray Phoenix, and Moxley. Now, earlier, Moxley took, and I brought this up already, he took on Nick Camarado. Some of you saw Nick in NXT. Big guy. I mean, 6'3", about 275, jacked up. Looks a little bit. You remember when, what's his face? Oh, my God. Oh, crap. Damn, I had a perfect comparison of him Shit, I'm drawing a blank right now. I'll bring it up next week. But he looks like two guys combined. Looks a little bit of like an 80s wrestler. Not really Bruiser Brody, but man, I'm trying to think. Oh, I'm having a brain fart right now. I'm exhausted too, but shit. My God. Oh, man. Somebody's got to bail me out because I'll get so pissed because I'll finish the show and I'll be like, oh, man, I just remembered. Who's the wrestler that was in WWF in the 80s? Didn't last very long. He had that whacked out shoot interview. Oh, my God. He was one of my favorites, too. Cowboy hat. No, he had the cowboy hat and the beard. Oh, Billy Jack Haynes. I bailed myself out. He looks like, remember when Billy Jack Haynes kind of had like bushier hair? He reminds me of Billy Jack Haynes meets Hercules, meets kind of a little bit Brody Lee. That's what it kind of feels like to me. He's not bad. He's actually better than you think. Had a little bit of a competitive match with Moxley. Moxley, in the end, got him to tap. Good showing. Good showing. I mean, he didn't fit in NXT. And obviously you could see why. There are way too many people above the food chain of this guy. You know what? George Burns, that's really good. That is really good. And 98% of you out there is way before your time. Pampiro Firpo. If anyone out there looks up Pampiro Firpo, shades of that. And again, if you look at Nick without the hair and the beard, he looks like Phil LaFon from Furnace and LaFon. He's not a bad guy. But again, Moxley returned, cuts a little promo, then he's thrown into the six-man match. It just feels like right now Moxley has no direction. It doesn't feel like he's feuding with Kenny Omega. He hasn't wrestled in almost 2 months. And again, you're talking about the number one wrestler of the year. And you look at, yes, he had every right to have some time off. But he's returned. And he's been back for a couple of weeks. And look at what they've done. It feels like there's really not much going on with him right now. Because you could see the Kenny Omega storyline is much bigger, much deeper. And Moxley, they have that little connection, but I don't know, man. I'm not feeling it. But we had the main event tonight. MJF and Jericho win. I guess the stipulation is whoever wins goes on to represent the Inner Circle to try to win tag titles. I don't see MJF and Jericho beating the Young Bucks. I don't even know where that comes into play. But they had the match. Out of everybody in the match, Jake Hager I enjoyed the most. When Jericho took the bat, brought it in the ring, and Hager confronted him, and Jericho's like, uh-oh, and then Hager just nailed him with the boot. Out of everybody in the Inner Circle right now, as weird as this sounds, I like Hager the most. I really like Hager the most. But, you had MJF bring in the ring, and Guevara. By the way, Guevara needs to get some more muscle, some more. He's got to bulk up a little bit more. Did you see him try? I don't know if he tried to hit the go to sleep on Jericho, but he had a hard time picking him up, and it was a mess. This match had its moments, but overall, it was a mess. And the whole storyline since the Vegas trip has been all over the place. Where this leads from now, I have no idea. But it feels like a mess. Now, we have Dax Harwood versus Jungle Boy next week, like I said. Then 2 weeks from now, we have next week to hype up Beach Blast, so we'll talk about that in 2 weeks. On the NXT side, just to summarize, you had Leon Ruff and Kushida beat Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory to advance in the tournament. That kind of surprised me because I thought this would help Austin Theory tremendously. The fact that they're not advancing gives me hope that MSK could possibly win this, or they may give it to the grizzled young veterans. Those are the two teams right now that I feel WWE may end up having win this whole thing, and I hope it's MSK. But, Kushida, I mean, getting the win kind of out of nowhere. I was baffled. Absolutely baffled. It was a fun match. Went long, but when you look at the Dusty Classic, to think that Kushida and Leon Ruff would advance, I expected Kushida to be feuding with Gargano almost solely. Maybe next week or whenever they have Kushida and Ruff have their match, they'll probably lose because of Gargano in theory, and we see where it goes from here. But yeah, I'm very surprised Kushida and Ruff won. I'm not that surprised that Kayden Carter and Kacy Catazaro won. As I said earlier, they have bigger plans for Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm. And Io Shirai was the diversion to that next level. So you could see that, they're not being buried or anything like that, but you would think the way could get some nice momentum, especially for Austin Theory, because Austin Theory, you could feel something being put together. You could feel that WWE strapping something on. I shouldn't say it like that. That's because of the videos that came out. You could feel WWE starting to put the wind behind Austin Theory's shoulders. That's a G-rated way of saying it. You could sense WWE is like, okay, we got to push this guy. Strap on. It was me. Oh, whew, that hurt. Let me see if I can do it. It was me, Austin. Oh, no. It was me, Austin. It was me all along. I can't do it tonight. Everything's a little bit off because of this vaccine. It's just, 26 hours since I got it? They said 2 to 3 days is where you're going to feel it. So, and I wasn't even doing the show tonight. But anyway, Pete Dunne cutting his promo. Wants Finn Balor. I love it. I love it. Give it to me in 2 to 3 weeks. I'm fine with it. I'm still, and I know I'm going a little out of place, I'm still baffled at Santos Escobar throwing jokes, insults towards Karrion Kross. That makes zero sense. Zero. If WWE is thinking of having Karrion Kross and Santos Escobar go at it, yeah, some people may have a little bit of Lucha Underground fantasy with that, but it makes zero sense because you feel like Karrion Kross is going straight to Finn Balor. There's a little odd. It's a little odd. We'll see. Malcolm Bivens by William Regal's office trying to lobby for Tyler Rust. I do not like the phrase diamond in the rust. Malcolm Bivens should have, if they were going to use shit like that, Malcolm Bivens should have managed Leon Ruff, and they should have used diamond in the rough. That diamond in the rust, the fuck does that mean? What does that mean, diamond in the rust? You don't ever want something sitting in rust. Hey, honey, look, I took your wedding diamond and I have it dipped in rust. That is just dumb. It's stupid. But we're going to get a match later. Tyler Rust, we'll talk about that a little bit later. I mean, I don't want to say it was a squash, but Bronson Reed, it's pretty much a squash. I don't know what the deal is with Malcolm Bivens. Oh, we got a setback. You'll overcome the setback. Yeah. Is Malcolm Bivens a babyface? Is he a heel? Tyler Rust feels more like a heel than a babyface. And you have Malcolm Bivens almost like a babyface manager. Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You get up. I'm like, it sounds like Jake Atlas. Devin, we have no idea what happened with Indira Shear. Ever since one of the members leaked that photo of Keith Lee winning both belts, they're done. And that's a shame because, we thought that they would be going. But look, WWE can end up using them. They're obviously got value, but it's amazing if they're getting paid all this time, even if it was $100. I mean, Give me that shit, man. I'll leak out somebody winning a belt, and you pay me for 8 months, just to 6 months, just to like not do nothing. I don't know, man. I mean, I just don't understand. No matter who it is in the wrestling business, I just don't understand how somebody would think with a clear head, oh, this is being pre-recorded, and let me not only spoil it for everyone, let me post a picture. What is going on in their mind? I mean, that is honestly, now Mish and I have not done the year-end awards yet, and we're starting to work on it. But I think when you actually think about that, he should be brain dead of the year. Just absolute. It's like the Riddle Award. If you want to use Matt Riddle as like a stoned out moron with the, hey bro, don't step on my big bro toe. If you want to use the Matt Riddle like totally stoned, brain dead, dopey, moment of the year, that goes to that guy. Don't blame me. I was stoned. Anyway, Karrion Kross destroys Ashante Adonis. Karrion Kross uses the finisher now. It's a stiff forearm to the back of the head, the neck area, which, if anybody's ever been hit in the back of the neck, that shit could cripple you. So I like it. Now, right before Karrion Kross did that, he said, time's up. So I have a feeling, maybe they've already said it, I haven't noticed it, but I have a feeling that finisher is going to be called time's up. He has it on his tights as well, but I like it. I like it. I like it. Desmond Troy was at ringside, his tag partner. Desmond Troy gets choked out as well. So we'll see what happens with them in the Dusty Classic. Lucha House Party, as I said earlier, beat Imperium. It was what it was. I'm so much more into the Lucha House Party and NXT, and give them credit for allowing the Lucha House Party to open it up a little bit. After the match is over, Alexander Wolf is on the stage, and you see Imperium. The hands in the back, like, tension. Alexander Wolf is not happy. Now, I know some of you out there are complaining we didn't get any Xia Li tonight. That's okay. It's all right. You don't want to overdo it so fast. Let's wait a week. We'll probably get Xia Li next week. Kacy Catazaro Kayden Carter over Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez, which we already talked about. Finn Balor wants only Lorcan and Danny Burch. Tries to convince William Regal. William Regal says, go find a tag partner. Finn Balor says he's got a few people in mind. I guess kind of owe him one. And he meets up with Undisputed Era. Kyle O'Reilly accepts. So we get Balor and O'Reilly versus Lorcan and Burch. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. That promo, I guess, to set up next week. Lucha House Party, Legado del Fantasma. They have an exchange. Kurt Stallion shows up. I'm telling you, it looked like, like Lucha House Party has a thing for, like blonde, long-haired white dudes. Because you got Matt Riddle on one show and you got Kurt Stallion on the other, and it's like Kurt Stallion just subbing for Matt Riddle tonight. But so maybe this segues to Santos Escobar and Kurt Stallion, Legado del Fantasma, and the Lucha House Party. I'm fine with that. I just don't understand Santos Escobar's promo bringing up Karrion Kross. I was like, okay, that's more AEW-ish. Not trying to be disrespectful. I freaking love Santos Escobar's work. That guy is a true diamond in the rough. I just don't understand why WWE has such a hard time having like an intense storyline for this guy. And I don't know if Kurt Stallion is the answer. I don't know. He's been number one contender since November. Especially in the COVID era, you don't let that sit for 2-3 months. When it sits that long, it's usually a problem behind it. So, and then we get the fight pit. As I said earlier, Bronson Reed beating Tyler Rust. It was Tyler Rust, with all due respect, If James Ellsworth was of normal height and worked out a little bit and grew his hand a little longer and had a normal sized, neck, that's what Tyler Rust looks like a little bit to me. He looks like a jacked up James Ellsworth in the look, in his face. Seriously. If you would have had James Ellsworth and Kurt Stallion next to each other, you would have thought, hey, they're cousins, first cousins. They look a little similar. I understand that, Benjamin. Santos Escobar is taking shots at NXT champions and former champions. But NXT has had a boatload of NXT champions to choose from. Look at Beth Phoenix today when she brought up who's come to NXT. She went from Sasha Banks to Bayley to Carmella, Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch. She read off like 10 people. None of them are currently in NXT. Santos Escobar is a heel. Karrion Kross is a heel. Santos Escobar could have brought up Keith Lee. Santos Escobar could have brought up Adam Cole. Santos Escobar, my point is, when you start off with Karrion Kross, who is a current heel, and everybody thinks is going for Finn Balor, and Santos Escobar's a heel, it's like, okay, that's like, why would you name drop him out of everybody? I don't know. This is me. Look, Benjamin has a good point. I think I got a good point too. But we get the main event. The fight pit match was excellent. They started out outside the pit, up the stage, brawling outside, physical. I love the fact that they gave the win to Timothy Thatcher. That motherfucker had his ear busted open. I mean, it was like Roddy Piper, Greg Valentine ear, if you remember that. I mean, he lost a tooth. He's gotten, some pretty stiff, I don't want to say injuries, but that man's been busted the fuck up. And he's been the victim, some of it to his own doing, of some horrible ratings. He is bland. I still bring up the fact that of all the clips that I've ever done on this channel, the clip I did, you could look it up if you think I'm making it up. The clip I did when Karrion Kross, Timothy Thatcher signed, I don't think you call it developmental deals, but signed a deal with WWE, and they're wearing the Performance Center shirts. I did a little bio on both, and to this date, the lowest viewed clip I've ever done. And I thought that was more in Timothy Thatcher than anything else, because a lot of people already know about Karrion Kross. And I thought, and I've said many times over that year, very disappointing to see people just not into him that much. Anthony Manzano says, when do I think NXT is going to have the unification match for the Cruiserweight title? Because he's starting to get tired that Santos doesn't deserve it. No, Santos Escobar is fine. The fucking guy is awesome. WWE's got to find somebody. It looks like they're finally pulling the trigger with Kurt Stallion against him. Let's see where it goes. I don't think you unify a title simply because it's not being utilized how we would want it to be utilized right now. That's why all these people that kept saying for the last 6 months, unify the Raw and SmackDown tag titles. I mean, yeah, the way they're being used, I understand why people say that. But when you realize you have a Fox TV deal, you need some tag champs on Fox. When you have a USA Network deal, you need some tag champs on Raw. And you don't want to stretch a team thin where they got to work both brands. You see how they run into problems with the women's tag championships. So for an emotional reason, I understand why people say that. Those people obviously aren't into business and, name attraction. And, Ryback says props, okay. But, Fox needs some champions on this show. Those split brands will always have separate titles to satisfy the cable networks and the perception of champions. It's not rocket science. So All right, some people think Santos Escobar is boring. I respect that. I think that's the way WWE has utilized him. No, the Lucha Brothers saving Moxley. The Lucha Brothers as a whole, they're trying to make this whole connection. Rey Phoenix went up against Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega going after Penta, and John Moxley because he was feuding with Kenny Omega. It's like a meeting of everybody together. Pac obviously is with Rey Phoenix, so you put Pac in the mix. It's just trying to put name value together. So Psycho loves Timothy Thatcher. I'm telling you, man, the guy really can work. He really can. And the fight pit match tonight was phenomenal. It was a flat-out brawl. I mean, shit made sense. I mean, the way they fought is the way the fight pit match should be. And again, I wish it would have happened weeks earlier because I think Thatcher and Ciampa as a team in the Dusty Classic I would have loved to have seen. But kudos for WWE taking the time with this. You realize also logistics-wise, this is a lot of setup for a match like this. Just, with the cage and everything, there's a nice setup to it. So they took their time. They gave it a couple extra weeks. They gave it a main event feel to it. So although Timothy Thatcher and Ciampa were obviously disappointed at New Year's Evil, they were rewarded tonight with 20-plus minutes of an absolute brawl. Absolute brawl. Loved it. Yeah, Ciampa is 200 pounds, man. He wears it well. I mean, you think about it, the guy could fit for 205 Live. 205 Live. But, the fight pit match is not something you want to do all the time. These are, flat-out brawls. It's almost like the NXT version of, I don't want to say Hell in a Cell, but you have two people feuding, and it is an absolute war, a brawl, and you just want them to settle it, fisticuffs, absolute brutality. You don't need cages. I know you have war games. You don't need props. You just throw two people technically in a cage and let them just fight to the finish. And that's what we got tonight. It was a flat-out brawl. There were points in the match. There was no way Thatcher was coming back from some of those spots. Then you had spots where Ciampa, they were bringing up his injured neck, his injured knee, his injured this, and Ciampa Thatcher would get the upper hand, and it went back and forth, back and forth. In the end, they did this spot where the corner of the fight pit, there's an opening, and Thatcher put Ciampa's leg inside the opening, which was above, I believe it was above the top, would be like the top rope or second rope. I mean, obviously, Ciampa is not going to put his leg all the way up in the air like he's, going to get railed by somebody. But he had his leg elevated, and Ciampa, Thatcher's got Ciampa's other knee in his leg, and he's twisting it. And the visual was great. I mean, it looked painful. And Ciampa is trying to break away, cannot break away, and Ciampa ultimately taps. And Thatcher wins. I'm telling you, I know there's some people in NXT that check out the shows. I get some DMs all the time. Mish gets the DMs too. And it's an honor and it's humbling to have people who I love to watch on TV and root for to be checking out the shows. I don't know if Timothy Thatcher is one of them, but I can honestly say that for about 6 to 8 months, I know there's a lot of you out there that want to see Timothy Thatcher brought to the next level. Problem is, the cat. Remember when I said early on that it reminded me of Stu Hart in a dungeon, and then they actually mentioned Stu Hart a couple of weeks later? That's the vibe I got from Timothy Thatcher. Unfortunately, in 2021, I don't know if that connects with fans. And Thatcher, broken tooth, fucked up ear, fucked up face. That's not enough sometimes. There's got to be a connection. And I think this fight pit match really won him over with the fans. It's weird because Gargano at times in his NXT career, he's nailed it, and people have invested time and energy and loved his stuff. Then there was a point where everything seemed to just fall flat. Then he had that one match where he got dropped on his head accidentally, and finished the match. And I remember myself included saying, you got to give credit to this freaking guy, for finishing the match. And then, you see what transpired after, and you started to take a little bit more attention on Gargano. And I think ever since that one moment where he got dropped on his head, who was the gentleman again that unfortunately blew out his knee? I keep drawing a blank. Right now it's late over here. I ended up going a little bit longer than I planned. But what's his name again? He blew out his leg. McAfee was going to pay him in the storyline to take out all the members of the Undisputed Era. Ridge Holland. I bailed myself out again. Thank you. Ridge Holland. Ever since that match with Ridge Holland, I know it's weird, but I think that match with Ridge Holland turned it around for Johnny Gargano. His promos, if you remember, his promos after that were talking about how his career flashed before his eyes. I don't doubt that. I think there is a lot of truth to that. And you know what? Kudos for Candice LeRae as well. Because I remember a lot of people shitting on Candice LeRae. There's nowhere else for her to go. Put her on SmackDown, release her, this and that. It's just played out. It's enough. And not only did she kick ass in War Games, but they kind of reinvented her as well. I mean, we saw those early skits in the house that were awful. And then they started turning it around. And when they were doing the wheel stuff and you had Halloween, they aced it. So, sometimes when you think someone is out, you give it a little time and they could turn it around. So, Kevon Lewis, he says she's overrated. I can understand why people say that. I absolutely can understand that. But if you notice, they're not putting the NXT Women's Championship on her. She had an awesome match with Io Shirai. She held her own. But you could see now it's more of, bringing up Indy Hartwell a little bit, more comedic stuff, more, she had the feud with Shotzi Blackheart. That's why I think they'll advance in the cup. But, she definitely kind of reinvented her a little bit too. I hope Ridge Holland could come back, man. You read and you talk to people more about this. Calling it a career-threatening injury is not an exaggeration. I think he'll be back. But that guy, what happened to him, I don't sort of wish that even on my enemies. That was pretty brutal, especially when that guy, the legs is what pushes off a lot of his power. That's why Undertaker was having so much of a hard time in the latter matches, right before he retired. Because when you lose that, strength in the legs and that push off, it makes everything else a hell of a lot more difficult. So, but with that said, ratings this week, I honestly don't think the ratings this week are going to be all that great. I don't blame it on inaugurations. Remember 2 weeks ago when they stormed the Capitol? You remember all these websites that said NXT and AEW's ratings were so low because everybody was watching the news? Last week's ratings were only 10,000 viewers more than the week before. What they said was incorrect, to say politely. And we called it out before we even knew last week's rating. But I just don't feel this week had so much strength that wrestling fans casually turned it on and didn't turn it off. Some of the stuff in AEW was a little bit tough. Some of the stuff in NXT was a little bit tough as well. I think AEW this week wins. I don't know if they break 800,000 viewers. I will say I'll be a little giving this week, and I'll say 777. You know what? I'll say 778. Now watch it, 777. I'll say 778 for AEW. And even that I think is too high. But I'll say 778 to be nice. And I say NXT increases a little bit from last week, but not all that much. I say NXT scores 622. So I'm going 778 to 622. We'll see. So anyway, with that said, everyone, I'm going to get out of here because I got to get this online, and I'm very tired, a little bit fatigued from this thing. Again, I'm not saying it to get any attention my way. I could have taken a night off. I think you all know that, but I said, no, let's enjoy having a little conversation talking about both shows. And but I'll be back here Thursday night. The only way I won't be back tomorrow night is if this gets worse. I mean, if I start getting hit with like 101 fever and I really can't even like see straight and shit like that, which I don't think is going to happen. If I feel this way tomorrow night, I'm good to go. But remember, we're starting Thursday night at 10:05 p.m. Thank you, Southern Love, for the kind words. I'm going to start 10:05 p.m. tomorrow night. I want to start doing it like at 9:30, but it cuts close with Wrestling Soup. I don't want to overlap Wrestling Soup. They normally finish around 9-ish, and then sometimes they do it in like a little after show. So I want to keep, that little bit separate. But if it looks like that they're consistently ending at like 9:30 every time, then maybe we'll drop the start time to 9:30. This way for people out there, especially overseas, I know it's only a half hour difference, but half hour earlier is still pretty nice. But as of right now, we keep it 10:05 p.m. Eastern, which I guess is kind of, organized because Mondays are 11:05, but Wednesdays is 10:05, Thursdays is 10:05, Fridays is 10:05. So I guess we keep it consistent. But thank you, Psycho. Thank you, everybody, for the kind words. I had a great time doing this. Love talking to you guys. Love the conversation, absolutely. And before I go, wow, now I feel a little guilty. Thomas Wen Thaho, big fan of this show. Unfortunately, I don't have guns like that. They actually look pretty good on camera. Trust me, it's a lot of flab. No, because he put like in the things, the emojis. By the way, next week, you know what? Next week is the 28th. You know what? February 1st. We'll make it February 1st. February 1st, I'm going to launch the memberships. I don't want anybody to sign up feeling like they're going to have to sign up. The only reason why I'm doing it is because a lot of people want to use custom emojis and this and that. And YouTube, like, you have to have memberships and you have to have at least 2 subscribers to get like more emojis. I'm subscribing to my own shit. Mish is subscribing to our own shit. We're going to subscribe like 3 or 4 times so we could get like 20 emojis for everyone. But if anybody wants to sign up also, you can. We're going to do a couple of little things because they have like a community area. It's almost like a forum. So, but I promise you, what we launch ain't going to be no money grabs. I don't want anybody to think like we will not do that here. But if you notice, with all these shows, and this has been happening now for a month, you might get a commercial at the very beginning of the video, and you may get a commercial at the very end of a video, but there are 0 commercials during these shows. If you notice, especially if you're watching a replay, you know what I'm talking about. 0. That's one big thing that changed. Early on, when I started this channel, I had so many of you complain to me like, DT, not for nothing, every 3 minutes there's a commercial. And I had everything set up on auto because I didn't know how to do any of this stuff yet. So I put it on automatic, let YouTube decide where to splice in the commercials. I played it back, and I didn't know because I have YouTube Premium. so I don't see my commercials, but I logged off of YouTube Premium and I clicked on one of the videos, and literally every 3 to 4 minutes there was a commercial. I'm like, oh my God, that's like worse than Conrad. I mean, there was like one episode I think had 39 commercials in it. So that's all gone. So yeah, YouTube Red's not too bad. It's not too bad. But I want everybody's experience here to be a good one. I mean, obviously, not going to be fluff. You know, it's not going to be cake and ice cream all the time. We're nasty when we need to be, sarcastic when we have to be. We're brutally honest, which obviously a lot of people can't handle. You know that. But we're one, strong community over here. And I definitely love that it's growing, and I appreciate all your support. And that is the reason why I'm here tonight. Didn't want to take the night off. So as of right now, the show will be on Thursday night, 10:05 p.m. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night. Now remember, tomorrow we'll give this away. It is not an 8x10. It's bigger, obviously. It's in plastic right now, so that's why there's a shine. But it is JSA authenticated. You can see it there. And it's got the hologram. So you go on the website, and it's all 100% authenticated. And you know why I love this so much? Because everybody gets triggered now saying that Bayley is the first ever Grand Slam champion. But if you go 3 years ago, WWE was advertising Charlotte as the first ever Grand Slam champion. So we'll give that away tomorrow. Pick up that Chris Candido book if you haven't done so already. I'm going to have Johnny Candido on in a couple of weeks. It's going to be a very powerful show. Trust me when I tell you. It's going to be special. Because I had a friendship with Chris Candido off, privately. And we're going to talk some really personal stories. We're going to pay some tributes. Some people that did not get the acknowledgement that they should have. A lot of Balls Mahoney stories. We're going to talk about a few other people. And I have some books coming my way. We'll be giving away as well. So how to participate, Jay Carlos, tomorrow? Just show up. It's going to be a Who Am I contest. Last week we did the Who Am I contest with Greg Dam and Valentine. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. It's going to be Who Am I? And I will give hints. And, we'll throw the hints until we get a winner. I won't make it as old as last week. Greg Dam and Valentine's a legend. No question. Hall of Famer through and through. I thought of him because he was on AEW Dynamite recently, albeit sitting in the audience. But whoever I decide to choose tomorrow, I haven't decided yet. Whoever I decide to choose, it'll be somebody newer. But it's going to be Who Am I? I'm going to go through clues, and the first person who guesses who it is wins the prize. Easy as pie. So, yeah, I do it live, Jay Carlos. So everybody that tunes in live, and I know people out there are going to be like, it's fucked up, I can't tune in live. But keep in mind, for 9 months on this channel, I did contests every other Wednesday, and it pre-recorded. You just had to post a comment. So now I wanted to focus on the prizes on Thursdays, and soon we'll get a focus putting prizes on Fridays, then putting it on Mondays. We keep rotating. But this is for the live audience, so this way, we could do it in real time. And it seems to be a little more fun that way, because people last week were totally baffled. And then Mike came up with the answer. I think it was Mr. Mike, I think it was. By the way, your stuff is going out tomorrow, Mike. I have it ready to go. But, all right, everybody, I'm out of here. Stay safe. Be well. Like I said, thank God we didn't have crazy-ass turmoil today in our country with President Biden being put in, which is a good thing. And whatever's on your mind tomorrow, remember, I'm coming on tomorrow with just a bottle of this, hopefully feeling pretty good, and nothing in front of me except for the live chat and my recording programs. Whatever is on your mind, that is where the shows will go. The show will go tomorrow. So I hope you can join me, 10:05 p.m. Eastern. And everybody, much love. We'll have the ratings too, so we'll see what happens. So be well, everybody. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you Thursday night, 10:05 p.m. Ciao.